Hi guys, welcome back, and this time around I'm bringing you yet another one of my mega reviews. You know how I like doing my things. Anyway, what do I have this time around? Well, I've got the DUNU, the Kima2, a much anticipated IEM, especially because we've already had two previous versions, the original Kima and the Kima Classic. So I've got the Kima2, we've got the CLAVELON Delta, another single DD, at more or less the same price as the Kima2. Also, an interesting proposal. Let's put it that way. And then finally, something that's been around for a little bit, the INTUAURA Reference 2019, and this is the only one that, although the cable is removable, it only makes really sense to use it with the DSP cable that it brings. If you actually use it without that DSP cable and with a normal cable, the tuning is a little bit lackluster, to say the least. Anyway, I'm not going to take you through the boring part of the packages. Any one of these IEMs, especially the reference, the INTUAURA and the Kima, are very well accessorized. I mean, DUNU never disappoints in that aspect. Really, not only tips, case, everything. And I'm actually going to start here with the DUNU, so you guys can see. It's got this very nice case that we've seen it already before, but in a different color. But I like this new scheme. Brings loads of tips. I'm using the SS tips because it works, really well. It's got this little protecting case, or not case, bag for the actual IEMs themselves. The cable is obviously a interchangeable termination. It's this new cable that we've seen already now in a few IEMs that they have. Look, I'm not going to criticize it because the cable actually isn't too bad. Let me be honest. The cable actually isn't bad. The cable actually is alright. It's just a pity that the termination is a very cheap kind of plastic termination. I would have liked a nicer termination, but overall, I like this a cloth braided finish. It just gives it a nice, there's no microphonics, no nothing. It's just it's nice. It's nice. I have to say it's nice. Could it have been better? Yes, it could have been better. I actually think that the cable that came with the original Kimas and the Kima2 was a better cable. Okay. But anyway, with regards to that part, I think I don't need to carry on here talking excessively, because we know that accessories, DUNU ticks all the right boxes. As for the INTUAURA, again, brings a little case with it. The IEM itself as well is a nice IEM. It's got this DSP cable, like I said. It's a nice size. It fits nicely, but I'll get into it in a little bit more detail just now. But again, nice accessories, decent enough. And again, at around just over $100, $119, if I'm not mistaken. The Kima2 is $114, if I'm not mistaken. I got this one from HIFIGO. This is from the INTUAURA is from LINSOUL. And then finally here, the CLAVELON, the Delta, which is the only one that doesn't have a nice case. It's got an unusual shaped shell. See if this thing will actually focus. Yeah, it's got an unusual shaped shell, which looks the part. It looks the business. It doesn't, this unusual shape doesn't exactly make it as user-friendly as the other two. I mean, the Kima is fantastic, and so is the INTUAURA. And I'm also not using the stock cable. I'm using an XINHS cable, because the stock cable is a little bit on the bland side, for lack of a better word. Again, around the just over $100 price bracket. This doesn't want to focus today, huh? Anyway, what do I have here to kind of help position the Kima and the other two IEMs as well, so you guys can get a general idea? Well, I've got here some oldies that have already been discontinued, and I've got here something which has become a little bit of a, it's always, the hype and this and that, but look, let's be honest. The Kefine, the Klean, is a phenomenal IEM. That's the reality. When you consider its price, the adjustable nozzles, the tuning that it has, the good quality driver, the good quality shell, there's really very little that you can fault. Let's put it that way. This costs around the $45 bracket. I've got here next to that, oh my god, this thing just doesn't want to focus there. Next to that, I've got here the Tripowin Olina SE, the final version of the Tripowin Olina, which was an HBB collaboration. Next to that, I've got here my venerable Tanchjim oxygen, and you'll understand I could have added a lot more IEMs here to the equation. You guys already know that, but there's a reason why I've got here the oxygen. Okay. Next to that, I've got here something which also is a bit of an outlier, or not a known IEM, which is the Ucotech RE1 Pro. This is a Korean brand. Again, priced at close to $100 price bracket. This one I got it from Bloom Audio. This was $89. And then finally, another IEM that's already also not available. I mean, that's available, that's not available, not available. Actually, you can still get the oxygen in the final, in the latest version of the oxygen. But that particular one there is a 2022 version. And I've got here something else which is also been substituted, which is a sonic memory, the SM2. Okay. Again, another single DD, which has always impressed me thoroughly. Really, I mean, this is something that I just don't understand why it didn't get more traction, to be honest. I know that at one point it was carried by Shenzhen Audio, and I don't know if maybe they just didn't do the right promotion, or, you know, it's a pity, because this is, although it's got this unusual shape and everything, it is a really, really good IEM. All right, guys, let's get into it, because that's what we want to know. We want to know what the sound is like and what it isn't like and so on. I'm going to take care of the reference 2019 first, because this is going to be the easiest. As I mentioned, the shell is a nice ergonomic, shape. It fits very nicely. There's no issues there. It's a metal shell. It's got the DSP, and that DSP is what basically makes it sound the way it does, because if it wasn't for the DSP, then, you know. Sub-bass focus with a very quick roll-off into the mid-bass. So there's a little bit of a mid-bass slack there. And then, you know, decent extension in terms of the pinna gain, upper mids and treble. It's nice, but again, let's keep this in mind. It's the DSP that's doing all of this, all right? How does it sound? It sounds fine. It sounds fine. There's, you know, a little bit lacking on that mid-bass impact, so with certain songs that have got a little bit more of a slam, you might feel the sound is a little bit thin. But other than that, you know, I really can't, I mean, let's see, Dreams by Deborah Debs is one of those songs that, yes, if you listen to it on its own, it's fine, it sounds good, but you do notice there's a little bit of weight lacking to the drums and to the kick drums and so on, which when you listen to it on, for example, the Kima, well, on the majority of them, that energy is there. But overall, I can't really criticize. The good thing about maybe the usage of the DSP, I guess, is the fact that, you know, I didn't really pick up on any sibilance. The treble is well executed. It's got, you know, good technicality, soundstage, imaging, micro detail and macro details are good. Female vocals are perhaps the star of the show. They are a little bit better, but ultimately this is the reality. We are limited by the performance that the little DAC chip here on this DSP can give, and you know, this goes back to the story of the Moondrop, the Dusk, and you know, if the Moondrop Dusk with its DSP cable, you know, is capable of outperforming the Dusk connected up to a proper amp and to a proper DAC and so on and so forth, then what's the point of spending thousands and hundreds of dollars on all that expensive equipment? Just, you know, get a DSP and that'd be done with it. So, you know, the limitation, yeah, ultimately for this to be a better sounding IEM is the fact that you have this little DSP, yeah, that does its thing, yes, but it is limiting what could be otherwise a properly tuned IEM, because if you use it with a normal cable like I did, it isn't properly tuned. It's got a very standard, very normal tuning, nothing special. All right, so I don't want to beat on the INTUAURA. It's an interesting IEM. I'm not going to deny it. For those that don't want to complicate things, I guess it could have its place, but there are better options. Let's put it that way. Okay, so that's one out of the way there. The CLAVELON, the Delta. Like I said, it's got this unusual. This thing just doesn't want to focus today. This is giving me some grief. It's got this unusual shape here on the shell, which is a little bit on the larger size when you consider it's just a single ED. But it's got, I don't know, this has got some vibes of some high-end IEMs. This has got a little bit of a vibe of a soft ears, some of soft ears single DD offerings. You know, the Twilight. There's something here. I'm trying to identify the IEM that also has this kind of similar shape or to the shell, and I'm just not being able to. Besides that, solid shell, well built, it's got a good quality driver, and the tuning is a nice tuning. Let's get that out of the way straight away. It has got a nice tuning, a little bit on the warmer side, not as maybe as detailed up top as some of the other offerings here, but overall it's got a nice warmer musical type of sound. I would say male vocals perhaps are the ones that are the star of the show over here. Bass is clean. It's you know, plenty detailed, fast enough. It's got this nice timbre and tonality above all, and I would say the timbre and tonality of the Delta here is probably its better feature. Let's put it that way. Soundstage, it's fine. It could be. It's got more of a cozy presentation, more of a kind of a small venue presentation, as opposed to a bigger open space presentation. Good imaging, and the detail retrieval. It's fine. I mean, like I said, I would say the timbre and tonality, and then perhaps as well the overall let's say musicality, organic type of or its most interesting features. Technically, it is good, but I was expecting maybe a little bit more. I mean, the soundstage, I guess, is the better between the soundstage and the imaging is the other feature that maybe you could put in line with in the sequence of, you know, the timbre and tonality and the musicality being the main ones. But overall, nice, interesting sounding IEM. Really nothing that I can point negative towards it, other than you know, it's something that we've already seen, and we see this type of tuning or this style of sound in cheaper offerings. So, you know, it all kind of depends if you want something unique. I would have liked, and that's where now my nitpick with the Delta lies, I would have liked that for an IEM of this price, it should have brought a case. Okay, it should have brought a case. It should be just a little bit better accessorized. There should be more reasoning for the price that you're paying for it. Okay, that's the only nitpick there. I mean, this is really, really very, very basic, and I mean, guys, that's it. You know, it's very basic. I would have liked something else. I guess you can argue, okay, they spent money on the actual IEM. Yes, it's got a good quality driver, that's undeniable. But again, a little bit more, you know, that's the reality. When you have cheaper stuff that offers, like the case of the Klean, you know, how are you gonna justify it? You know what I'm saying? That's it. I'm just showing you here the nozzle, so you guys can see. Okay, anyway, all right, and then that brings us then finally here to the Kima. The Kima, the original Kima, was one of those IEMs that was inoffensive. It didn't do anything wrong. It didn't do anything particularly right as well. It was a relatively easy IEM to listen to. But there was nothing there that really made it stand out, especially when you considered some of the offerings that you had back in those days. Okay, the Classic brought another level of liveness to the sound, made it more fun, more engaging, and I guess most people would probably have preferred the Classic. Because it didn't really trade too much in terms of its technicalities and openness in the sound to the original Kima, but it brought a whole different level of engagement in terms of the bass that the original Kima was at times a little bit thin. As for the Kima 2, the best way I can I can talk about the Kima2 is that it reminded me from the first listen to the origin. Okay, the first time I listened to this, it reminded me of the origin, and then it reminded me to a certain extent, a little bit to the MIM Dark Magician as well. And what do I mean? I mean, it's got a nice, engaging mid bass, plenty of sub bass. It's not that's not the focus, but it's got plenty of sub bass. There's nothing lacking there in terms of sub bass. And if I listen to some of my EDM songs, it was, you know, handling them perfectly. Nothing wrong there. Yes, there are IEMs here that do have a little bit more sub bass, but you know, nothing wrong there. But the mid bass and the tonality that mid bass then confers to the songs in general is what engages you, which is exactly what happens with the case of the origin. The oxygen, by comparison, the Tanchjim oxygen, when compared to the origin, the oxygen was more clinical, more harmonish type of sound that was very technically capable. While the origin was, in my opinion, an improvement over that, because it brought this sense of musicality that sometimes on the oxygen some people could complain about it lacking, by saying that it was maybe perhaps a little bit sterile, while the origin wasn't. And this, for my ears, for what I like listening to, reminds me very much of the origin. It's got that nice tonality, that nice mid bass impact that makes things just sound very, very satisfying. I mean, a song like Hello from Adele, it does it perfectly. You know, I truthfully cannot say no, it doesn't convey enough energy to her voice. No, it does. It conveys enough energy to her voice. It doesn't shout. At least I don't get at any point any perception of it shouting. Something that, for example, when I listen to Adele on the Olina SE, there are instances there that her voice can be just a little bit on the too much side. On the oxygen as well, you can get sometimes that same feeling. Ultimately, you know, they use drivers which are very similar or almost identical or of the same series, so it's normal that they will do that. But when you listen to Hello on the Klean, for example, you again get this sort of presentation that you get of the Kima, which is you listen to it on the Klean and it's got a nice weight to her voice. It doesn't shout. The treble is absolutely flawless in the Klean. That's, I think, one of the its strongest points, and that's exactly the same sensation I get on the Kima. I would say even that the Kima2 is perhaps a step up or an upgrade path from somebody that has the Klean. Somebody that has the Klean and is happy with the Klean, going to the Kima2 will definitely satisfy. Yes, it doesn't have maybe the ultimate sub-bass extension that the Klean has. The Klean maybe has a little bit more, but overall, the sound that you get from the Kima2 is sufficiently upgraded to justify the extra cost that you pay for it. Okay, you know, it's a substantially way more well accessorized IEM than the Klean. And I mean, I think just by saying what I'm saying, I'm already giving credit not only to the Klean but to the Kima2, because I mean, I made no thing of it. I didn't hide it. I think the Klean is a phenomenal IM, and I would even go as far as saying that perhaps the Klean makes more sense than the Delta AE. And this has done enough not only to be a very solid upgrade over the original Kimas, okay, but both the original and the Kima Classic, but to make itself a justifiable option if you are coming from something like, for example, like I said, the Klean, right? Anyway, just going back here to the sound and not wanting to distract myself too much. Bass, very nicely executed, phenomenal bass. It's got a nice passage from the bass into the mid bass and then into the mids. There's no bleed. Vocal sound phenomenal. Male vocals and female vocals, for me, both sound amazing. Like I just said, Adele sounds fantastic, but if I go the complete opposite end and I go to, for example, to Swept Away from Carol Dubach, it sounds amazing. Carol Dubach sounds tremendous here. In a Sentimental Mood from Cecile Norby, again, very nice, very nice. Elephant from Carol Lubbock, or You from Cecil Norby, they all sound really, really good. The sensation that I get when I listen to the Kima 2 is that I'm listening to a IM which is substantially more expensive than what you would think the cost is. So much like in the case of the Klean or the Delta, which are IMs which are playing way above its price point, the Kima 2, in my opinion, if you told me that the Kima 2 would have had a price point which was closer to something like, for example, the Moondrop Kato, which you know is $170 or $180 when it was available. I still haven't received the cadence, but when I do, I'll make sure that I'll make this comparison. So if you told me that this was something that would cost around that value, or something along the price of maybe like even the as far as the Origin, I wouldn't be too shocked. I honestly wouldn't be too shocked, because it does sound that good. It does really sound that good, and it's based on that mainly that I say that, you know, it is an upgrade which makes sense from something like the Klean. It definitely does. In terms of its technicalities, again, nothing to be said there. Soundstage is wide. You get a good feeling of space. I would say maybe the IEM here that marginally might have a bigger soundstage, but marginally is the SM2 from Sonic Memory. But soundstage here is very good. Imaging, very good. Detail retrieval as well. Really, really good. And above all, and again, the timbre and tonality perfect for what I like listening to. But above all, the thing that really impressed me again is like how musical I actually found the Kima 2 to be. While on the original Kima we had a presentation which was more clinical and a little bit, you know, like I said, maybe bland or sterile at times, and maybe, you know, okay, it was fine, but nothing special as well. On the classic, you had a substantially more, let's say, colored presentation. This one, I think, has struck the right balance between being very technically capable but being very musical as well. And I think more and more that's the most important thing. I mean, we must enjoy an IM. We must put it in your ears and enjoy it, and not be too caught up on things of, oh, you can hear the last twinkle of the cymbal, and or you can hear the last pluck of the string. I mean, that's all very fine and dandy, but are we here to be picking on those things, or, you know, shoving the IEMs in your ears and listening to music and get your feet tapping and saying, wow, this plays nice, this really is a nice sound? And it doesn't matter if the IEM is $10 or if the IEM is $1,000. If it plays nice, that's what matters. Obviously, goes without saying, the law of diminishing returns is important. And like I've said many times, and I've repeated even that recently, I think that when you start crossing that barrier of $200, you know, your demands have to increase. And in terms of single DDs, you know, you have such good single DDs nowadays under the $100 price bracket. I mean, countless. We've got one here, the Klean, that, you know, when there is something which is more expensive, it really must be something special to justify itself. I am totally against the absurdity of prices of some single DDs costing $700, $800, $1,000. I truthfully do not will not accept that there's anything that's really so unique about those IEMs that makes them stand leaps and bounds ahead of something like, for example, the Kima 2 or other very, very competent single DD IEMs which are substantially cheaper. That's the reality, because it's like I said, it all has to do with how it fits in your ears, what music you listen to, what source you're connecting up to. I mean, something like this, like I said, like the Kima 2, it sounds fantastic to me. I like it. I'm enjoying it. I'm really having a ball with it. But that doesn't mean you're going to have the same sensation. That's the reality. And, you know, what I try and convey with my reviews, when I do my reviews, is not only show you what I like listening to, so you guys can maybe find some correlation between my preferences or my tastes and your tastes, and then you can, okay, it makes sense what Tony's saying. I don't agree there, maybe I agree here. Understand? But also try and identify what I think will be a sound that more people will like. You know, yes, there are niche IEMs, but try and find something that many people will find interesting and say, oh wow, this is a nice IEM. You know, that's the truth here. So guys, that's in a nutshell basically what I have to say here about the Reference 2019, about the CLAVELON Delta, and about the Kima2. All of them are solid. If there was one that I would choose here, I think you already know what's the choice. It's the Kima2, without doubt. Taking the Kima2 quickly and comparing it here to some of the IEMs from the past, compared to the Tripowin Olina SE, it is a better IEM than the Olina SE. The Olina SE, it's not that it's a bad IEM, by no means. It sounds good, sounds fantastic, but it sounds a little bit unpolished. With you know, at times, like Comfort Zone or House of Groove or La Belle Danse sans Regrets, or songs that you can pick up on. Yes, they sound fantastic on the Olina SE, but when you listen on the Kima just does it a little bit extra, you know, that little bit more better, more well executed compared to the Oxygen. And you guys know, I mean, Oxygen has been one of my favorite IEMs for a long time. If I have to be totally honest and sincere, the Kima2 is a better IEM than the Oxygen. The Kima2, in my opinion, is on the level of almost an Origin. Okay, that's how I place this. Compare this to the Ucotech, the RE1. The RE1, it lacks the main thing of the RE1 is it's a very nice CNT driver that they're using there. I have to say that, but it lacks the mid bass fullness that the Kima gives, and that ultimately then costs it some points, especially in songs that require a little bit more that extra impact to just make things more engaging. Compared to the Sonic Memory, the SM2, the SM2 is a phenomenal IEM. Honestly, I've said it at the beginning and I'll repeat it. I just do not understand why it didn't get more traction, because it is a really good IEM. It plays very nice. That sound, the difference between the sound, the two of them, is not as much as you would think. There's a slight more sub-bass focus on the SM2, a little bit more of a mid-bass focus here on the Kima2. There's a little bit more detail up top, so technically maybe just a little bit more twinklies and sparklies than the Kima2. Timbre and tonality, I would say the timbre and tonality here is better. So they kind of trade blows, you know, overall. That, when it was available, was about $180. This, you already know, it's $115. When you consider the price difference, what that was capable of doing, what this is capable of doing, this takes the cake. And then finally, the Klean. I've said it already before. The Klean is an amazing IEM. Comparing the Klean with this, you notice the Klean has got a little bit more sub-bass, but overall the sound that I'm getting from both of them is, in my ears, very similar. Both of them have phenomenal mids. Well, with the nozzle that obviously I've selected there on the Klean, phenomenal mids. The highs are, you know, faultless. I cannot both in one case or the other. That's why I'm actually even surprised that I've heard some people saying that the Kima2 was a little bit too bright. I didn't find the Kima2 too bright. Honestly, I didn't. Granted, I'm an old man and my hearing isn't what it used to be, but I can you know, with confidence say this, for me, with my music library, like I'm sure you've seen, it doesn't sound harsh or unpolished or unelegant or anything of the sort. No. Musical Genocide from Gregory Porter, which is something I also like listening to, or Holding On, it sounds, I mean, even a song like Up and Up from Jeff Ryan, which has got that sax, which can be a little bit too much. On here, it's faultless, really faultless. Yeah, guys, that's basically it. I think I've said it all. You know, the Kima2 DUNU did their work. They did, you know, the driver that they used is the latest iteration of that DLC driver that they've used already before. Hey, what can I say? You know, go listen to it. Go listen to it, see if you like it. And if you're in the market for buying a single ED which is properly tuned, well built, very well accessorized, this is definitely the one that does tick the most right boxes. Okay, guys, show you the graphs and we'll wrap it up. Take care.